Hello once again everyone, and welcome back to another video. V8 Vets Season 20, round number 5 here at Daytona. This is one of my personal favourite tracks. I love the Rovals, they are great fun. They always produce some really good racing. I've had a few good results here, so yeah, it's definitely one of my personal favourite tracks. A lot of people don't like them. But it's sort of got a bit of everything. You got some high-speed sections on the banking, and then you got the tight, technical infield. And then that bus stop really throws a spanner in the works. Can really force someone into a mistake if you're right up behind them, and capitalise on the exit. But in saying that, there's also been some very big crashes over the years at this circuit. So, yeah, definitely produces some interesting racing. The setup this week, not a massive fan of. The car really struggles under brakes, and then you've got to be very careful with the curbing. It really bounces too much. It's quite aggressive. Seems to, as soon as you hit the curb, the springs and everything just compress all the way, hits the bump stops, and then just sort of bounces and launches the car, especially through the first little chicane coming out of turn 1. Got to be super careful, because you hit one of those curbs wrong, it'll send you either into the infield or into the fence. So definitely something to keep in mind. Can sort of run a little bit, tiniest little bit of the curbing through there, but yeah, not much. But you'll see once we get through the track guide. Yeah, that all being said, let's hit the track and get straight into the track guide. Righto, so here we are on track. In the Vets practice session, we've got Jamie set up, loaded into the car. Not too bad on the tyres, you can see from my 3-lap run at the start here. Not too bad, it looked after its tyres okay. The banking here will really cook the tyres, so tyre life will be something to look out for around here. And the way the setup is, being very mindful of your lockups, because you'll overheat those front tyres and just absolutely destroy them if you're locking up too much. So yeah, something to keep in mind. My best lap for the session was a 142.629. There's still a couple more tenths out there to find just by, neatening up a few corners, just, getting used to that setup, the way it sort of bounces, catching the bouncing at the right time. So my theoretical's like into the 4s, a 142.4. So there is more time out there, but yeah, with how bouncy the setup is and how careful you got to be on the brakes, it's hard to really nail that lap. Well, for me anyway. I'm sure one of the top guns in, say, the Pro Series would be able to do it, but for me, yeah, it's it's the best I could probably do today anyway. For the brake bias, I've gone right up to 54.6. It was sort of the only way I could get the car to sort of nosedive how I like to under brakes, be able to wash off the speed and then get around the corner. So yeah, really got to experiment with your brake bias this week, because it'll be quite critical of, because it really transforms the way the car handles over these bumps and in the braking zones. So really nailing your brake bias and where you're comfortable will be crucial. But as I said, 54.6 was working very well for me, whether it was for a quali run or for a race run. Okay, that all being said, we'll get stuck into the lap. We've done a very nice slow out lap, not too slow, so we could get a little bit of tyre warmth for turn 1, because it is a quite hard braking zone. You want a little bit of tyre temp for going into turn 1. So we're heading up, we're running the high line, the high banking, all the way around, so we get maximum speed, and then we're braking at this last little white line here. It's sort of once it's past the dash, or once it's no longer visible in the car, is when I've hit the brakes. So as you've gone past it, using the using the engine braking, going down those gears quite hard, using the engine as a bit more of a brake, really helps slow the car down. Down into second gear, right on this apex here, little bit of grass, but not a hell of a lot. And then we're slow on the power because it's quite snappy on throttle. You got to be very careful on the throttle with this setup. We're feeding it on, tiniest little bit of curb, tiny bit again. It's not too bad here because we've got that side unloaded, so it's not taking a big whack. But if the car's loaded, it'll whack and then just send you off into the infield. You don't want to be going over onto the grass. It'll just send you out into the infield or into the fence. Coming out, and then we're braking right as the front of the car gets to the last little white line. This last little white line, once you're on top of that, you're hitting the brakes. We're not running all the way to the edge of the track because the track sort of cambers off from this point. So you want to stay, about in line with this to help with the rotation of the car. Hitting the brakes, down into second gear, use a little bit of this inside curb, help rotate the car. On the power, feed it on nice and slow, no wheel spin, use all the exit. You don't want to be exiting way out here, just wasting time. You want to be sort of aiming so the car just nicks this last little bit of the yellow curb, as I did there. Tricky corner, this left-hander. It suckers you into wanting to go flat, but it's a little lift to get the nose to drop and then back on the power. Hit fifth gear right as I hit the curbing, run it out, braking just as we get to the end of this curbing. Nice and straight. Down into second gear again. You could go down to first to help just a little bit of rotation, then short shift on the exit to get if you're struggling with a little bit of rotation through here. Using the curb again, help rotate the car, feeding on the power nice and slow, making sure we're not getting any wheel spin. Staying in third, hitting the limiter, braking as we're getting to the start of this sort of cut through section. Down in the second, we'll use a lot of this inside curbing here, little bit of dirt even. Stops a lot of hitting a lot of the bumps that are out here because it's a really hard acceleration zone. You don't nail this part of the circuit, you're going to lose tenths of a second down once you get onto this oval. Slowly feeding on the power, modulating that throttle so we're not getting any wheel spin, not using all the banking. Then we're coming down nice and close to the yellow line, running the gear all the way out, shifting just before we're hitting limiter, coming into the bus stop. Love this section of the track. Braking just past the 200 meter board. Down into third gear, using as much of this inside curb as you can. Not as much as the second, because you want the car to drift out a little bit. If you're too narrow here, it'll understeer and wash you out wide. So not too much of the second one, let it wash you out a little bit so you're on this sort of darker section of the track. And then modulating the throttle to get the nose of the car to get right over the top of the next curb. Flat stick now. Just trust the car will grip and just run it out over the bumps. Then just feeding it up the gears again. Straight as we can. Very minimal steering input to keep the revs up and keep your momentum as high as possible. If you got too much steering locked, it'll slow the car down. Letting the car run out all the way. Or hug the bottom all the way to the checkered flag for a qualifying lap. For your race runs, we'll start letting the car run out to the wall so we open up the corner. But for a qualifying lap, we'll just head straight to the line. And there we are. There's the lap of the circuit. As I said, I love the Rovals. Whether it's Daytona or Charlotte, they're so much fun to me. Yeah, I really enjoy them. Yeah, as I said, the setup's a bit funny. It's hard on the brakes. It's very hard to get your braking zones right. Bounces a little bit too much on the curbs, and then the on power just wants to brake in the wheel spin straight away. So you got to be very careful with this set. Took me a bit longer than usual to get up to speed with this set. With with how tricky it is. So yeah, get your practice laps in, and then excuse me, as I've been saying, go and race with the set. That's where you'll learn the most about it. Go do some officials with it. Do East Coast or SRW, whatever series, if SRW is running at the moment. It might be starting next week, actually. But yeah, doing those races will really train your mind into getting used to the setup in time for Vets racing on Thursday night. That all being said, we'll jump on board. I'll go quiet, and you can have a look at the lap from the cockpit. And there we have it, another track guide done for another week. As I've been saying, a very tricky setup this week. So get in your laps. Hopefully this guide really helps you all out this week, and you'll learn something about how I sort of go around when I've got a really tricky setup to get my head around. Yeah, it would have been cool to see us racing under lights here, but I'm not sure if that's the case or not. But yeah, it would have been cool. Yeah. Good luck, have fun. Remember, do a few officials with the set or any of the other series that may be doing Daytona this week. Utilize the set, get used to it, and you'll see the benefits come Thursday night. But yeah, good luck, have fun, and we'll see you next week for another track guide. Bye bye.